What's up, 2K crew? Yes, it is that time of the week again, and you know what time that is. It is podcast day, and man, oh man, ladies and gentlemen, 2K crew, all of the above, we've got a fantastic show ready for you today. 2Ks, are you as pumped up as I am?
Yes, sir. I am. I mean, it's draft day.
It is draft day.
It's draft day.
It's motherfucking draft day.
I don't know if I'm like excited about this team I drafted today. I don't know if I'm upset about this team. I'm just kind of in between with them. They're not jumping off the board at me, but then again, I don't hate it. So
yeah. All right. Well,
we'll see.
That's definitely what we're going to jump into, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to talk about how our fantasy draft went, how we think each one of our teams fared, and kind of we'll probably pick apart everyone else's team a little bit here too. So if you are in the fantasy league, you're going to get our breakdown on if we think your team blows or is decent. Because let's be honest, I'm pretty sure mine's the best. Like my team name is Give Me Your Money. $, $. But no, it was a good time. It was a good time. And I just want to check our audio levels here real quick. All right, yeah, it looks like we're good. But ladies and gentlemen, if you are watching live, which I see a couple folks are on board, drop us a comment. Have you done your fantasy draft? If so, what position did you draft in, and who did you draft? And then we'll kind of compare. I do have 2Ks, the round by round. So there was a couple folks I didn't want to point out there and kind of get your reaction where some of these players went. But yeah, if you're watching live on the YouTubes, go ahead and drop us a comment. I'll feature you on the show. Like, subscribe, because we are 13 subscribers away from 300 2Ks. Can you believe that?
It's crazy.
300 subs. 300 subs. And for those of you that do follow, as we mentioned last week, kind of signing off, there will not be a show next week. Saturday is my wedding day. So, and well, if you don't know Kyle and I very well, there will be a dance floor at said reception. So that motherfucker is getting cut up. So yeah, we'll probably be recouping and rehabbing from maybe an adult beverage or two and cutting the fuck out of that dance floor. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, we won't have a show. There will not be a podcast. So, but speaking of podcast, if you are listening on the podcast, go ahead and give us a follow, give us a like, share this around so that we can get to that 300, that elusive 300 subscriber mark. And for all of you that are subscribed, thank you. We do appreciate it. And if you guys are feeling extra salty, you can go to buyturboabeer.com, buy 2Ks and I a beer, and you'll help the show financially. My brain just stopped there real quick, but it's not required, but we love you anyway. So as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to break down our fantasy drafts, and we're going to fill in the rest of the time with some baseball chat. So we got 2K's two favorite things. We got fantasy drafts, and we got baseball. So it's a good thing you can't see what he's wearing underneath, because I'm sure he's got a huge sports boner right now. So 2Ks, let's jump into this, brother. So for the folks watching on YouTube, I am going to put up, let's start out with your team, since you were the first. For those of you that didn't know, 2Ks and I got the top two picks, which was rather weird.
Was not rigged.
No, it was not, even though my brother seems to think it was. But
I mean, leading up to this entire thing, I've not been shy at saying I did not want the first pick.
No.
I wanted pick 10. I would take pick 10 in pretty much any draft.
Mm-hmm.
I would have been happy with 9. I would have been happy with 8. And then as you were doing the draw, I think it was Thursday night, and he just kept on not calling every name but mine. And then it got to a point where it was like it got past the 5, and I was like, you know what, fuck it.
Yep.
Now I want the first one because it's like a contest that I want to win. I want to win
absolutely.
the first pick. So, got number 1 pick. Not happy about it. I mean,
let's throw your team up so the YouTube crew can see it. For those of you on the podcast side, 2K's team. This is not in the draft order. It was just how I put it down. He went Joe Burrow, Christian McCaffrey, Robinson, Diggs, Cooper, Kittle, Williams, the Broncos defense, Gano's the kicker, Mozart, Henderson, Johnson, Brown, Mr. Trevor Lawrence, Chenault Jr., and Johnson. Not a bad squad, 2Ks. Not a bad squad at all.
Yeah, the first thing that popped into my head though, and I think this, don't know if you're ever going to have especially in recent years, a successful fantasy team if you have 3 Jaguars.
Again, yeah, very true. Very true.
Urban Meyer being the coach there now. I've never seen an offense that Urban Meyer was coaching. Now I get it; it was at the college level, but I've never seen an offense that he's ever coached that was not one of the most explosive offenses in the league, whatever league he was in. So,
I do find it kind of weird that you, as a diehard Michigan fan, is now putting your money with the ex-Ohio State coach. But again,
hey, when they leave Ohio State and they go to the next level, then look, I root for Zeke every Sunday.
It's true.
And because he's a Cowboy now, but there was a stretch there where I could not stand the guy. Yeah. Then he goes to puts on the star, and it's like, okay, he's one of my favorites now.
Yeah, it's funny how a uniform change will do that. But no, you did just kind of give folks a recap here. You did have the number 1 pick, and of course you did go with Christian McCaffrey. I mean, and this is something that you and I talked about last week, and how we were even talking about it last night. And I kind of mentioned it during the draft order show. It's like, all right, well, when it came down to you and I'm like, all right, well, if I get the first pick, everyone knows who I'm taking. And if I don't, I have a very good feeling that 2Ks isn't going to take my guy, even though we're friends, but there's no friends in fantasy football.
No.
We're talking about, the money's cool, but it's the bragging rights.
Oh, yeah.
It's the bragging rights. You just drop dick all over everybody. So, it was, in going with my pick, the number 2 pick, I almost thought about it too much. And at the end of the day, I'm like, you know what? It's put up or shut up. I've been riding this guy forever, and rode him last year. However, he did fall to number 5 to me last year. So, and for those of you, I will put my team up right now. I have Rodgers, Henry was the number 2 pick. Montgomery, Julio, Claypool, Walker, Swift, which that's the one I'm not. My flex running back is kind of where I think my team is a little weak, but I went with the Rams D, McManus, Moss, Connor. Probably the reach of the draft, at least in my opinion, was I took Trey Lance, I think the 12th round. I went Michael Pittman Jr., Evans, Haynes, and Callaway, which is for those of you that don't know who he is, he's kind of been the star that's arising out of New Orleans with Michael Thomas on the shelf. So I think I got him in the 14th round. So I figured, hey, what the hell?
And getting the news that we got today that Winston's going to be the starter there in New Orleans, which I think a lot of us knew, but we didn't know for sure. Look, the guy turns the ball over a shit ton of times, but
he can see now, though.
Yeah, there you go. But you know it more than anybody playing in as many leagues as me is. How many times have I rode that guy as my quarterback?
Yeah,
because he just puts up fantasy numbers. It looks like shit, and he turns the ball over 3 or 4 times. But listen, you only get -2 for an interception.
Yeah.
So when he's throwing the ball 50 times in the game and throwing it all over the place and taking chances, he's bound to get you, a good legitimate quarterback day, like in our league is 60, 70 points.
Yeah.
He's bound to get that just because of the volume of how many times he throws. So getting that news that you got today, I mean, owning a wide receiver from New Orleans, I think it's a good thing.
And I have and first of all, taking him that late, I mean, that's when you're trying to find the diamonds in the rough. Yep. And very rarely do you find at least in my opinion, when it comes to, fantasy sleepers, usually folks look at, running backs. It's not necessarily a receiver, excuse me. But with this kid, I mean, at the last, because I always draft a kicker with pick 16, a defense with pick 15, and usually the pick 14 is kind of like my diamond in the rough spot. And in my thought process is, well, I mean, hell, you might as well take a flyer on somebody. I'm not looking for the 14th pick on my squad to carry my team by any means, but yeah, that was kind of my thought. But going into I was telling you this right before we went live. I got every guy that I had my eyes on, but one, which was Josh Allen. And believe it or not, 2K Crew, Josh Allen went before Mr. Patty Mahomes. Jeremy Warren took him, and maybe it's because he was watching the show last week. Who knows? But no, I really do. I really do think that he's going to have a fucking monster year.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about Mahomes, and I didn't think it was possible to watch an offense that is so basically one-dimensional, where they just let Mahomes throw it all over the place. Mm-hmm. And then you watch Buffalo last year, and they didn't run the ball fucking ever.
No.
Ever.
No.
I thought I was like pulling a sleeper last year when I drafted Singletary in the draft, because I thought, you got Josh Allen there, but they're still going to, rookie running back in Singletary last season. I thought he was going to be a sleeper. Nobody was really talking about him. Fuck. He didn't do anything.
No.
Didn't do anything because they just gave the ball to Allen. And when they did run the ball, it was Josh Allen running the ball. So
yeah. Occasionally Zach Moss. Yeah. Occasionally. But yeah, that was the only dude that I had my eyes on. Every one of the dudes, because I'm one of those weird guys. I put people in the queue just to kind of keep an eye on them, see if they get taken off the board. And it's usually my later round picks. It isn't necessarily like my top 5.
Sure.
And everyone that I had in my queue, I got. So, but there was a couple. There was one time in particular, and I can't remember who you took that I was going to take, and I actually put in the chat, "I fucking hate you." To which
that hurt my feelings.
To which Chelsea replied, "Hate's a very strong word."
That hurt my feelings.
No. See, friendship aside, once we start talking drafts. Now the draft's done, we can be friends again. But no, I was very happy. Now, there's only been like 2 drafts that I've ever been a part of where I walked out of the draft going, I just want to light this lineup sheet on fire. And I was looking over some of the other teams. There really isn't one that's completely standout.
No. And then, but there's not a team that you look at and it's just like, that team sucks.
Yeah.
Like, there's
some legitimate.
Yeah, I mean, I think watching this, I mean, it all comes down to injuries at the end of the day. I mean, you could get through the first week or two and get a few of the first injury reports out, and you might be burning your team at that point.
Yeah.
But the way I look at it right now, like, this should be a really fun season. Mm-hmm. If everybody can, there's going to be injuries, but if most teams can avoid it and not just have that one team that has like 3 guys go down, this should be a really fun season, because there's no team that I look at. Like, I kind of thought, my team's not that great. But then I got, like you just said, I got to looking at everybody else's, and I was like, okay, my team's pretty decent. I don't mind this team. There's a lot of really good teams in the league, but there's not a team that I'm looking at that I'm like, that just stands out to me.
Yeah, and it's both ways. There's not one that's like, Jesus, man, how did this person land all of these guys on? Yeah. I was watching the draft. How did this happen? And then again, there's not the team you're just like, what the fuck? So yeah, I agree. This is going to be an extremely competitive draft or league. Excuse me. And for folks that did not get in on the league, and you still want some action, let's do a DraftKings every Sunday.
Yeah.
So keep an eye on the 2K Crew. And for those of you that aren't a part of the 2K Crew, go to facebook.com/group/2K Crew. And I will approve your membership into there, and I'll post the link in there. And let's do, what do you say, $2 a week?
Fine with me.
$2 a week times, it's 17 weeks or 18 weeks now that with the bye. So that's 36. Well, let's do $3 a week. $3 a week, because that averages out to about the price it costs to get into the league. So, and normally with $3 a week, if you hit, if you win once, pretty much pays for it. But and it most of the time it's a lot of our the people in the league. And if you're in the league and you want to still make some money, this is how to make some of your money back, because I'm winning it all. So but no, let's I kind of alluded to it. Let's since everybody if everybody, I'll grab one team 2Ks, and we'll kind of go through kind of spotlight a couple of the teams here. So let me get to there. All right, well, let's start off with your dad, Team Coach K. He's got in now. Granted, probably a lot of folks haven't gotten in roster baited any, unless you're Kurt. I'm sure he's changed his lineup about 6 times already. But your dad's got Kyler Murray, Aaron Jones, Sanders, Kupp, Ayuk, Kelsey, Carson, 49ers D, Myers is a kicker, Chase wide receiver, Jones, Galladay, Singletary, Cooks, Fields, and Brown, the running back from Miami. Not a bad squad.
No.
Not a bad squad. I will admit he did. I was just, if he wouldn't have taken Murray, I was going to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think he took Murray his pick before. Excuse me. Before I took Aaron Rodgers. And speaking of Aaron Rodgers, we talked about it last week. I think the dude's on a vengeance tour.
Mm-hmm.
I think now getting just one piece of that Green Bay offense, because one of the strategies I like to do is pair quarterback and receiver,
Mm-hmm.
and with Adams being drafted so high, and me not taking him, of course, that pretty much kind of puts that out there. Tunyon, the tight end, I think was taken in the 16th round,
Mm-hmm.
but I like my tight end a little bit better, so I wasn't really willing to stretch that far. But I think when it comes to your dad's team, he's in the same kind of predicament as mine. Is the flex spot isn't as strong as I'd want it. Mm-hmm. Everything else looks pretty top notch. Mm-hmm. It's pretty top notch, and 2K crew, when we're going through teams, that you're gonna see the same kind of thing. On all these, there's about one spot that I guarantee if you ask the owner, like, man, I really wish I could bolster that.
And majority of teams, it's going to be that flex spot.
Yeah.
When you get to the point where you're picking, for most people, I think, especially in our scoring system, you want your flex to be a running back. Mm-hmm. But when you're picking that flex running back, there's not a lot of running backs back on the board.
No.
You're taking chances. I think with Chris Carson, that's a pretty safe bet.
If he stays healthy.
Mm-hmm. He's going to be the back there. He's the number one guy. I think probably 2 years in a row now, we've almost tried to push him to the side and think that somebody else is going to take that spot. And when he's healthy, he's proven that he's one of the best fantasy backs, not because of talent, but because of volume. Mm-hmm. Pete Carroll's going to hand the ball off, and they're going to run the football a lot. And when they get down into goal line situations, he's going to score a lot of touchdowns. Mm-hmm. As long as he's on the field, he's a must-start running back, in my opinion. So I like the pick for him. With mine, I go back to my team, and my flex spot right now, I have that Mostert from the 49ers. Mm-hmm. Hey, when he's on the field, about as explosive as it gets. The problem is he's never on the fucking field. Yeah. And I took another flyer with the rookie running back for Denver.
That's the one you fucked me on.
Is that it? But look, I think he's better than Melvin Gordon. Mm-hmm. Melvin Gordon's been in the league now for a few years. He's got the experience, and I think that early in the season they're going to roll experience, so what I'm kind of hoping is I can ride Mostert, and when he does get hurt, hopefully this guy will be taking over the Denver backfield, because look, what I've learned about the Mostert kid is it's not if he's going to get hurt, it's when he's going to get hurt.
Yeah. And, fingers crossed, hopefully that San Francisco team, the injury bug doesn't bite him nearly as hard as last year, which to me, that was just, that was a fluke of nature there. Yeah. That was a fluke.
And I got Kittle on my team also. So he's another one that I'm hoping, could stay healthy, because we didn't get to watch him very much last season. And look, even if with Kittle, the thing about him is, even if you don't have him on your fantasy team, he's just one of the, it's so much fun to watch him play.
I really want to have beers with him.
Yeah. If there was anybody in the NFL I could pick to hang out with, it would be him.
Yeah. And it would
make it happen, Dustin.
Yeah, Dustin, or at least call into the show so we can talk to him. That'd be awesome. Well, let's we brought up Jeremy's name, so let's kind of break down his team. He went Josh Allen, Nick Chubb, Sony Michel, Tyreek Hill, Keenan Allen. Andrews is tight end. He's got it in his flex, Jerry Jeudy right now. Buccaneers defense, Bass is his kicker. Which, if you guys are on ESPN and click on what the hell is this dude's first name? Tyler. If you look up Tyler Bass, he's got eye black under one eye. Who's he? The fucking Nelly kicker? I saw that and thought it was something on my monitor. I'm like, what the fuck? No, he's Nelly.
I'm just seeing that now. What the fuck?
He's Nelly.
What is that?
I don't know, but we're probably the only show that's actually talking about Tyler Bass or Bass, however you pronounce it. But Jeremy also went with Matt Stafford, Carter, the running back for the Jets, Williams, the backup running back in Detroit. He did take Michael Thomas, Curtis Samuel, Williams, the receiver out of Detroit, and Gesicki, tight end from Miami. Yep. So again, getting back to Jeremy went. He took Tyreek Hill a little bit higher than what I would have. I think it was Hill, but there was one of the picks that I kind of shook my head, and then he's got Sony Michel sitting there as his number 2 running back, so he must think he's going to get some pretty good haul there with the Rams now with that trade.
Yeah.
So again, solid. I think it's a solid squad. Mm. The bench is a little thin.
The running backs for me, I can't jump on that Sony Michel.
No. I'm not that strong with him. So
no, I didn't like him in New England. He had a plenty of time, plenty of opportunity to be that guy in New England, and he never, went with it. And look, when Tom Brady used to throw the ball all over the place, owning a running back in New England, it was like you didn't want to try to take that chance because there was 3 or 4 different guys, and you never knew who it was going to be. Shit, for the longest time, it was fucking the little short guy, Danny Woodhead.
Yeah.
I mean, he was one of the best that they had.
The Great White Hype.
Yeah, and then, LeGarrette Blount was kind of the one that finally just took over that spot. But then when Brady was kind of, not the quarterback that was throwing the ball 40, 50 times, they basically built around their defense here in recent years. Brady's last couple of years in New England, they did go more to Belichick actually picked one guy and they rode with him, and Sony Michel was that guy there for a little bit, and he never really did anything. And I think it was Devin Harris or Damian Harris that come in last year, and he was by far the better back there. I mean, it wasn't even I think that for New England to make that trade and send him over,
that was weird.
It was a no-brainer. New England has probably 3 or 4 backs that are better than him.
Yeah.
And so I think Sony Michel will go over to LA now, and he'll kind of be like Malcolm Brown was last year, where he might be that goal line back, might steal some touchdowns from Henderson because Henderson is pretty small. But I still think Henderson's going to be the guy that gets the most volume on that team.
Now I'm looking at Jeremy's team, and I know for a fact that Mr. Warren is a huge Notre Dame fan, but with his selections today, he might be leaning towards that Georgia Bulldog squad. He's got Stafford, Chubb, and Michelle.
Yeah.
So, so just kind of curious out there, Jeremy. Are you still rolling Irish, or are you secretly go Dogs? But no, it's solid team. Solid team. Let's see. Let's pick Carl.
His team sucks. I forgot to say there was one team when I was going through, and his team sucks.
His is probably the most odd team. However, he's got possibly the two best, or 2 of the best wide receivers. So he might have the best wide receiving stable here. Well, he's got 3 of them.
He definitely has the best wide receivers.
I mean, he's got Pat Mahomes, Edmonds, the running back out of Arizona, the aforementioned Leonard Fournette, Devontae Adams, DK Metcalf, Thomas, the tight end from Washington, Michael Evans, which is who he has in the slot right now, the Ravens D.
Those are 3 number 1 receivers that he has.
Yeah. And then he went gay with his kicker. Literally, that's the guy's name. Tom Brady, Smith-Schuster, Melvin Gordon, James White, Randall Cobb, Gronk, and Chark Jr. for Jacksonville. Hey, maybe you can spark up a trade with Jeremy and get another piece of that Jacksonville pie, 2K. But no, obviously, home run with the quarterback.
Absolutely. Home run with the receivers.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same boat that we were just talking about with Warren. Running backs. You got Edmonds from Arizona. Yeah, I think he's going to be the number 1 back there, but how much is he actually going to get? I think still Kyler Murray's still the best back on that team, even though he's a quarterback. And then they bring over James Conner, and if James Conner is healthy, he's going to get carries also. And he's, especially in goal line situations, he's going to be the goal line back. And then you got Leonard Fournette. Are we going to get the steal a line from Pardon My Take podcast? Are we going to get playoff Lenny? Is he going to play like he was in the playoffs last year? If we get that, then we might be talking about a number one, number two running back. But I don't know if we'll get that.
Yeah, but yeah, his we'll run down. Hell, we might as well run down everybody. But you're going to see that. Yeah, his team is very, very wide receiver strong. Let's go with Mr. Matt. I like Matt's squad a lot.
Yeah. So does ESPN.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got Lamar Jackson, Cook, Jacobs, Woods, Thielen, Hawkinson, which that picture of Hawkinson looks fucking ridiculous. Edwards-Helaire, Steelers, D, and Sanders kicker. He's got Landry, Will Fuller, which Will Fuller suspended, Jalen Waddle, Jameis, Cole Beasley, and Carlos Hyde. So, very strong team. Very strong team. Out of the teams that we've kind of broken down so far, he's got probably the most all-around backfield right now. Yeah. When it comes to the two, and ironically enough, the guys that he took at pick 3, because he was right behind me, was the example that we used last week. So, yeah. So it was kind of ironic that happened, and then having CEH as his flex spot, not a bad spot.
Yeah. Yeah.
His thing is in my opinion, receivers are kind of shaky, but he's got some backup on the bench. I'm usually never super high on rookie wide receivers like we talked about last week, but it's going to come down with Waddle. He's going to go as Tua goes. So definitely not a slam dunk, but a very strong team.
Yeah, I like his starters a lot. Is the depth of the team as far as with his bench, I'm not a big fan of. Just doesn't have a whole lot of depth there. But like you say that his receivers are shaky, and he doesn't have that true number one guy. But as far as guys on their teams that they play for, I do think that they're the number one guys there. I think Woods is the number one guy in LA. He's got a way better quarterback now than Stafford, so I think his game goes up. Adam Thielen, he's the guy there. Diggs is no longer in Minnesota, and even when Diggs was in Minnesota, he was still the number one guy. Running back Dalvin Cook. Hey, I mean, to me,
Cook's got to stay healthy again.
Yeah, to me it was with having the first pick. It was McCaffrey or Cook, and I was kind of back and forth on it. I chose to go McCaffrey. I hope that I don't regret that.
I don't think you will.
We'll see. But, yeah, Dalvin Cook's a beast. He's going to get a shit ton of carries. The volume's going to be there as long as he's healthy. He should be a top 2 or 3 back. Could be the top guy. Would not surprise me. Josh Jacobs at number 2 back. Only thing that scares me with him is, and I didn't realize this until just last week, Kenyon Drake signed there. So it's not. I don't think it's just going to be his backfield. He's still going to be the number one guy, but Kenyon Drake's going to take over some carries. He's going to get some. He's going to catch the ball out of the backfield because he can catch the ball out of the backfield, and so I think that he steals a little bit. And then Edwards-Helaire, I like him, and I love the team that he plays for. But how much are they going to just turn the ball and hand it off to him?
Not much.
Not very much. So the big playability is definitely there, but the volume I don't think is going to be there. So, and then Lamar Jackson, look, he did not have the fantasy year that I think a lot of us were expecting last year. I think everybody was expecting him to do, well, he was the number one quarterback last year. Everybody was expecting what he did the year prior. I think this year I think he gets back to that. I'm not saying he does what he did 2 years ago, but he'll have a better fantasy year than he did last year.
I think they learned a very valuable lesson over in Baltimore, and I completely understand it where they're trying to limit his touches, his rushes. I get that, but when you have that electric of a guy, you can't harness that or pull it all the way back. You just can't.
You got to let him go. You got to let him go. You got to kind of treat it like Vic and let it go. Look, his career is not going to be as long as a guy like Tom Brady and some others, but it's going to be fucking exciting to watch when he is playing, because
he didn't win MVP by a fluke.
No.
It wasn't like a flash in the pan year. The only thing I'll say that has changed is, when he was doing his thing and winning the MVP, he had those 2 stud tight ends. Now there's just one. So I don't know how much that impacts it, but yeah, I have a very good feeling about Lamar this year. I really do. Right. Let's see. All right, let's break down Mrs. 2Ks. Mrs. 2Ks. All right, just glancing here. She's got Herbert, Barkley, Harris. Which, we talked last week. I was very, very high on Najee Harris.
Mm-hmm.
Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, which it says he's out. I have no idea.
COVID.
Oh, okay.
I don't think it's a positive COVID. I think it's just a protocol.
The 5-day thing, like they did with Cole Beasley, and ironically enough, Cam Newton, but Kyle Pitts, Myles Gaskins, the Pats D and Legatron, Dylan Sutton from Denver, Philip Lindsay. I was very high on Philip Lindsay because he's now in Houston, which there really isn't an established back in Houston, and Lindsay kept trying to do that in Denver, and I don't think they would really let him. Mm-hmm. And I want to say it was his rookie year or the year that he burst out. Man, he was one of those diamond in the rough picks, and they just kind of were like, we think you're good enough, but you're just not quite good enough to take the shoulder to the load. Boyd, Matheson, Debo, and Giovanni Bernard, which I didn't know Bernard was in Tampa Bay until today. Very solid squad, but there's if you're looking at this, there's a lot of Qs. We obviously with Lamb, that's not going to be an issue going forward. But I think her team is going to be contingent on how healthy is Saquon. Can Saquon stay healthy? So, but two badass receivers. If I were her, I would probably slide Lindsay up to that flex spot, and that would be, to me, that'd be a solid ass team. Mm-hmm. Which, like I said, 2K crew. I haven't even gotten into my team and started dicking around yet, so I highly doubt anyone else is, or even Dylan for Green Bay.
Yeah. She's got. Look, she listens to me talk a lot.
Yeah.
So like the Najee Harris pick. I've been talking about him since the draft, the NFL draft, and how.
Well, he went to the perfect scenario for his game.
Yes, I mean he's the reason why I wanted the 10th pick of the draft because I knew that I knew being the first pick or being in the top 3-4 picks, he's not going to make it back down to me.
No.
So I wanted to have that late pick so I could take a running back like, for instance, Aaron Jones in the end, and then come back with Najee Harris, because I think Najee Harris is going to be a top 5 fantasy back at the end of this year.
No argument over here. And
if Saquon's healthy, can stay healthy, he's going to be right up there too.
Yeah, and that's the Barkley pick kind of goes hand in hand with your McCaffrey pick. It's like, all right, both obviously injured very, very differently, but still missed a lot of time. I definitely I'm more confident in the McCaffrey return to where he was than Saquon, but look what AP did.
Yeah.
Look what AP did, and from what I understand, he's still even on the Lions roster right now.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if he's playing, but he's still on the roster. So he's had quite not the continual breakout year that he used to have with Minnesota, but even after his knee exploded, he's had a pretty good career.
Yeah.
He's had a pretty good career.
And she has 2 picks, and I'm a firm believer in picking up, especially later in rounds, picking up that 1 or 2 different handcuff running backs. And she has AJ Dillon.
Yeah.
If anything is to happen to Aaron Jones, and we've seen it, Aaron Jones has been a little bit. He gets dinged up. Not exactly the biggest running back, one of the most exciting running backs, but he gets dinged up, and if he misses some games here, AJ Dillon's going to be possibly a number 1 back.
Yeah.
Just by being in that offense alone. And then same thing with Madison. Mm-hmm. If Dalvin Cook goes down, and he's kind of the same way, he's been injured before too. Mm-hmm. If he goes down, it doesn't matter what your name is. If you're the number 1 back on the Vikings, you're probably a must start fantasy running back.
And that's why I also took Henry's backup.
Yep.
So it was getting later in the rounds, and I'm like, all right, well, where do I go with this? And I still had Pittman Jr. and the Callaway kid still in my queue, and I'm like, hold on, before we even start fucking around, let's make sure we because I have in the past with a high draft pick not taking his backup, and that's fucked me really bad. So. And knock on wood.
Yeah, nothing worse than like one of your best backs going down and not having his replacement, and then watching his replacement
go off.
And
usually it's like your dad or Joe Parks has the backup.
Or the team that you're playing against.
Yeah, that week.
Yep.
All right, well, congratulations, Mrs. 2Ks, and thank you for your deposit because I will use it wisely. Let's jump over to Kurt Alicious, Mr. Chalupa Batman himself. I don't hate his team, but there's I would have went a different route on a couple of these, but the one that jumps out at me is Jalen Hurts. This is quarterback. Riding that Philly train.
That's the only thing on his team that I'm not sold on. I love his running backs, and he's got depth at running back.
He's got Zeke, Eckler, Ridley, Lockett, Higbee, Davis, the running back from Atlanta, the Browns D, and the Browns kicker. Johnson, the wide receiver from Pittsburgh, Gus Edwards.
Yeah, Gus Edwards, who we just found out today that Dobbins is out for the year with a torn ACL. So, look, I don't know. Ravens, they could very well go sign somebody. They could make a trade and bring a running back over. Who knows? But Gus Edwards has been very solid for them these last few years. So to have a guy like that who is probably on his team right now, the number 4 running back on his team, and he's a featured back for a very run-heavy Baltimore offense.
And he's been in the offense forever.
Yeah.
And he got Corey Davis for the Jets, who, if you've watched any of the preseason, him and his new quarterback seem to have quite the relationship already. Anderson, the receiver out of Carolina, Tony Pollard, which obviously is Zeke's backup. Mooney from Chicago, and Latavius Murray, which has been the Alvin Kamara's backup for quite a few years in New Orleans. So, yeah, that great depth. Just that with all the quarterbacks that are out there. And I guarantee if we went to the free agent market right now, there's probably 5 quarterbacks I'd start ahead of Jalen Hurts right now. And hell, Mr. Gardner Minshew, Mr. Mustache himself, is on that roster now, sitting at, from what I gather, the 3rd string running back or quarterback.
Yeah, because I think they got Flacco there too.
Yeah. And all of a sudden, hold on, our video's down. Please pause. Jump over to my team and tell me what you think of my team.
That they suck.
No, that they're gonna win the whole goddamn thing.
Probably not. But you do. One thing that you do have going for you is your nemesis, Franklin Plummer's not in the league this year. That's true. So he's been the guy that consistently takes you down every week. All right, you got Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, I mean, what's MVP from last year? So not much to dislike about Aaron Rodgers. I am with you on that. I do think that there is going to be a little bit of a. He's going to play with a little bit of a vengeance. I think, look, every year Rodgers is going to be, in the top 5 or 6 as far as for fantasy quarterbacks. That's just a given. And then really the last 2 years since LaFleur has been there, his play has just went, I didn't know if it was possible, but his play has actually gotten better as he gets older. Derrick Henry, can't go wrong with him. David Montgomery, you fucker, you stole him from me. He was the one I wanted when it was coming back down with my 2nd and 3rd pick.
Who was that?
David Montgomery for the Bears. I love him in that offense. He started playing the best football of his career in the last 5 or 6 weeks last year, and I think that that's going to be no different all season long this year. He's one of my favorite backs this year. Julio Jones, can he stay healthy?
Yep.
That's the kicker with him. Chase Claypool, probably the biggest surprise, that we saw last year. Look, we all knew he was good, but I would have told you were crazy if you would have told me what he did last year he was going to do in his rookie season. I think he's a good pick. Waller, he's the 2nd best tight end.
Yeah.
Nobody can match Kelsey. He's Kelsey, in my opinion, is a first rounder in fantasy drafts, and I don't say that very often about tight ends. Gronk maybe for a couple years there, but Kelsey to me is better than what Gronk ever was.
Yeah.
Swift from the Lions, you said you were a little bit questionable on him. He's the back there. I mean, he's going to be the guy if he's healthy. Jamal Williams is probably going to steal some, especially goal line situations.
Because he's so much bigger, yeah.
Yeah, but Williams he's a great backup running back. Shit, watching him with Green Bay recently, just playing number 2 to Aaron Jones. There was a lot of times Williams even looked better than Aaron Jones, in some game situations. Doesn't have the explosiveness that Jones had or that Swift is going to have. But if Swift is healthy, I think he's a very good flex running back.
Well, that he needs to be good for Jared Goff to be good.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of my mindset going into that one. So, but yeah, am I super stoked about it? No. Do I think he's going to have a good year? Yeah. But when it was coming down to brass tacks and Apple Jacks, he was the best.
Yeah,
best one there.
Nobody is sitting at their house out of the 10 of us that drafted today and saying, "Man, I fucking love my flex. I love my flex spot." Nobody's saying that.
No.
So, you might get into some leagues where you got 2 or 3 guys that don't really know what the hell they're doing, and then your team's just completely loaded.
Yeah.
But that's not the case with this league. Everybody knows how to draft. Everybody drafted a pretty solid team. So I don't see a flex spot. Probably the best flex spot I've seen on every single team is Hilaire. And Matt having him. That's probably the best one that I see. But getting to your bench, I like Trey Lance. Trey Lance is, especially a lot of the stuff that people are talking about. People think he's the number 1 rookie quarterback as far as fantasy numbers go.
And I'll be the first one to eat my words on this. I thought it was a waste of a pick.
Yeah.
You're trading away that much to get him, and I was in the same camp as everybody else. It's like, man, Mac Jones is right there.
Yeah.
And now everything that I've read, everything that I've watched, everyone's saying, "Yo, this could be like Colin Kaepernick coming out."
Yeah.
Kind of like a mixture between him and Mahomes. Yeah. There are people calling him Mahomes 2.0. Yeah. Let's slow the fuck down.
He's got the arm strength. He's got the accuracy. The guy can throw it. We didn't get to see a whole lot of it. That's part of the problem.
Yeah. Now, if he would have played at a bigger university where we got to see him a lot, then you could possibly be talking about the number 1 overall pick and not the number 3.
Absolutely.
And let's be honest, that offense he's in, it's just waiting for a player like that.
Yeah, he has as far as all of these rookies quarterbacks, he's stepping into the best situation offensively. You got to think these guys are going to stay healthy, and they haven't been able to do that recently. But he has a great running game, a great offensive line that's going to protect him. Very good young receivers, a tight end, a stud tight end.
Yeah.
He's got everything to be successful.
And a badass defense.
Yeah. So the question with him is,
when does he get on the field? And I don't need him on the field week 1.
No.
I've got the reigning
You got
MVP.
Aaron Rodgers that, in all reality, should start every single game for you except for his bye week.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just, you can't take Rodgers out of your lineup.
No.
But when you start thinking about your backup quarterback, you're trying to take a flyer. I went with Trevor Lawrence today. Is Trevor Lawrence going to be that guy? We don't know.
No.
But it seems like every year there's that guy that goes off. One year it was Patrick Mahomes. People were drafting him in the 14th, 15th, 16th round. Well, and then you saw what he did.
He had a horrible preseason
Lamar
leading
Jackson.
up to that.
People were taking a flyer on Lamar Jackson. Last year it was Justin Herbert. So there's always that guy that goes off, and it's who's it going to be?
Yep.
Is it going to be Lance? It very well could. Is it going to be Lawrence? Is it going to be
Fields?
Yeah. Nobody knows at this point.
Nope.
But it's going to be one of them. One of them is going to. Lawrence is obviously going to be starting week 1. He might be the only one, and Zach Wilson too.
He's going to be starting week 1.
I think he's kind of the forgotten guy.
Well, he's with the Jets. Of course he is.
But you got to remember that the Jets have changed everything.
Yeah.
They got a new head coach there. They have a new offensive coordinator. They have an offensive coordinator that Matt LaFleur's younger brother. So you got to think. Well, we know what LaFleur's been able to do offensively, and this goes back to before he even became the head coach at Green Bay. He's been doing this with offenses for a long time now, and he knows how to coach quarterbacks. Well, I have to imagine that the little brother has been picking up a lot of knowledge too. So I expect the Jets to offensively to turn things around. I mean, look, they can't get much worse.
I saw a thing on ESPN that said that out of 40 quarterbacks that played last year, Darnold had the 40th best stats out of 42. And I think there had to be so many games allotted or whatever, but yeah, can't get much worse. Can't get much worse.
And he's a guy too that I think we're gonna. I'm not saying he's gonna be pick him up on your fantasy team or anything like that. But
Keep an eye
I think
on
he's
him.
better than what people think.
Yeah.
I don't think he's ever really been given a true shot.
Especially coming out of BYU.
He's played with different coach every single season, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Never had true weapons.
No.
Never has had a running game.
Oh, you're talking about Darnold?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Now you get him in a situation in Carolina. I want to see him do good. I want to see what he's all about. Maybe he does suck. Maybe he didn't suck at USC. I can tell you that.
No. He picked apart my Irish quite frequently.
Yes. So I want to. Now he's going to be with McCaffrey. You're going to have and then he also has two very good wide receivers on that Carolina team. So I have to imagine his numbers are going to be better.
Yeah. I could not agree more. Could not agree more. All right. Whoops. All of a sudden, my phone's decided to. The ESPN app has gone crazy.
One team that we haven't talked about, reigning champ, Jack Eggleston.
Yeah.
Haven't talked about his team yet. I haven't. This is actually my first time that I've really truly went through and looked at everybody's team.
Well, grab Jack's. Let's do Jack.
Russell Wilson, quarterback. Jonathan Taylor, number 1 back. Antonio Gibson, number 2 back. AJ Brown, Chris Godwin, Noah Fant, Kareem Hunt as his flex. That's a solid flex. Buffalo Bills.
Solid backfield. All the way around.
Buffalo Bills defense. Justin Tucker. Bench, he's got Harris starting back there in New England. That's a good number 4 running back. Odell Beckham being on a bench.
Who would have thought?
No, yeah. I mean, it's to me, getting him where he got him. It's a hell of a pick. Steal. Because you gotta think that he's gonna get back to that normal Odell Beckham.
Yeah.
Devonta Smith, most exciting college football player that.
And he needs to be best friends with Jalen Hurts right now.
Yes. And Marvin Jones Jr. Very solid.
The old Lions.
Yep. Rashad Penny, injuries with him. Never really have been able to see him at a consistent level, but he's got to be that number 2 guy behind Chris Carson.
Mm-hmm.
McCole Hardman, he just gets kind of caught in the wash there in Kansas City. There's so much talent there that you never know who it's going to be, other than what you're going to get out of Tyreek and you know what you're going to get out of Kelsey.
Yep.
And the other guys, it's just like drawing a name out of a hat. Who's going to go off. And then Matty Ice as his backup quarterback.
Solid.
Yep.
Solid. Let's see if old Jack can do what the Patriots have only done here recently, is go back to back. And I think Kayla's the last one, right?
Yep.
Miss Cleats and Cleavage herself. She went
took Dak from me, I know that.
Dak Prescott, Kamara, Mixon, D-Hop, McLaurin, Goodert, the tight end over there in Philly. Andre Robinson, receiver from the Bears. She has him in her flex spot right now. Washington's defense, Butker's her kicker. Moore, the receiver out of Carolina. T. Higgins, Trey Sermon, Kenyon Drake, like we talked about. Tunyon, that we talked about. Michael Gallup. And ironically enough, Henry Ruggs slipped way further than what I thought he would have, but she picked him up late.
Trey Sermon, he's the first name I see. He's another one that she stole from me today. I talked about it earlier. I have Mostert on my team. Mm-hmm. He always gets hurt. I wanted that handcuff big time with Sermon, because you want to have one of those running backs on that 49ers team, because that's what they do best, is they run the football. And I think that even if the guy that I have, Mostert, I think I'm saying his name correctly, so. Even if he's healthy, Sermon's still going to get his share. But I expect him to be hurt sometime throughout this season, and Sermon it wouldn't surprise me if he takes over as the lead back in San Francisco by the middle of the year, and they ride it out with him through the end. So he was one guy that I had kind of I circled that name before the draft even started. I really wanted him. Waited too long.
Yep, and as did I. And with Sermon in particular, when he went out, Ohio State's offense changed. And if you remember back, I want to say it was the Northwestern game, maybe. He basically took over that game. Mm-hmm. And for those of you who don't know, he was a running back for Ohio State. And there was a couple games, like 3 or 4 games, where he was getting 30 and 35 touches, and they were just riding the hell out of him. And so, first of all, to draft, for San Francisco to draft him when they got him is a steal.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
Is a steal. And now to have him be in that stable of running backs where you don't need him to produce week 1. Get him in the system, get him to where, and his play will elevate him.
Mm-hmm.
And if you told me that he would be the starter at like week 14, I'd be like, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah,
I can see that.
Yep.
Because they're more of the old running back by committee, where because of injury or whatever circumstance, none of those guys have just taken the reins and run with it, literally or figuratively.
No, but they're also a team that, when you start looking at total points for players at the end of the week, you see, and look, this is, people that are listening to this, we play a total different league as far as points go, so our running backs score high because they get a point every single time that they get a carry.
Mm-hmm.
So in ours, you look at the scoring and you might see 3 different San Francisco running backs and probably never heard of any of them, and they all have 20 plus points.
Yep. Because
they all get volume, they run behind maybe the best offensive line and maybe the best running scheme in all of football.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out all 3 of them are legitimate starting running backs.
Yeah. It's it's over there in San Francisco. It's kind of getting back to, I remember when I was very, very young in the fantasy game, whoever was the Denver running back, you wanted to take because that zone blocking scheme.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they were going to be the top dogs.
Mm-hmm.
And then that kind of evolved into right about the time LT went on fire. And then he was that must-have for many years. Then it was Peterson. Then it was Le'Veon. And, now that's kind of went McCaffrey's way. But no, the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Who the hell was Otis Anderson or Gary Anderson? Whoever the hell he was, it was the starter there in Denver. I didn't even know who the fuck he was. All of a sudden, he's on. Like, he's the must-have free agent. So I went and picked him up, and damn, here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go.
One player that she has on her team that I think just he's not a first rounder. Well, maybe for some people he is. I don't know. I don't consider him a first rounder. I consider him definitely a second rounder. I think just goes off this year is Joe Mixon.
Yeah.
I think this is his year. He's going to stay healthy.
He was putting together a very good year last year.
Yes, he's never been given a legitimate shot.
It's because Giovanni Bernard was back there.
Yeah.
Right? And they could never decide who was.
They fucked around with him all the time. They never had any weapons at receiver.
Mm-hmm.
They never had a quarterback.
No.
Andy Dalton, who just king of mediocre.
Mm-hmm.
That's all he is. He's always going to be mediocre, and never going to be anything better. And so, and in recent years, they've had nothing. Nothing. They've been worst offensive line.
Yeah.
No receivers other than Tyler Boyd. Well, now they got 3 pretty legit wide receivers.
Yeah.
They have a really good quarterback in Burrow, and I'm not just saying that because I own him on my fantasy team.
We've been saying that for the whole 2 years now.
Yeah. I mean, this is a Heisman Trophy winner that just ran away with it with that team that he had a couple years ago at LSU, and then come in and was playing really good football as a rookie last year before, obviously, the ACL injury.
Mm-hmm.
But he's got everything around him, and I think that team's finally coming together to where this is Mixon's year where I think we're going to see what we've all been waiting for. We know that the talent's there with him. He just hasn't had a supporting cast. Teams have been able to box everybody in and just take him away.
Yeah.
Well, they're not going to be able to do that anymore because they got 3 receivers that are really, really good.
And finally a dude to pull the trigger on him.
Yep.
And then Joey Burrow, man, he's going to be good. He's going to be good. And I've said it many times on the show, if he doesn't go down, he breaks the rookie records that Herbert broke. And not taking anything away from Justin Herbert. He had a very good season. But I think Burrow was on pace, at least, to outscore him. Let's put it that way.
And I love Jamar Chase going there.
Yeah.
Only being a rookie, so we don't know what to see. But I think he was the best receiver there. I mean, obviously, Jefferson goes in the draft the year before.
Mm-hmm.
Jamar Chase still has one more year at LSU, but I thought even at that time, and that LSU team, one of the best college football teams that we've ever seen, especially offensively, I thought he was the best receiver they had on that team, Jamar Chase. And now to team back up with his, with Burrow. I love it for both of them. I think it's a perfect situation. He's, to me, if it wasn't for Najee Harris being in Pittsburgh and being in that just completely run-heavy offense, and he's just going to go off and win Rookie of the Year, I would say Jamar Chase would be the second one there.
Yeah, I'm very high on him. Even though I've publicly said, and I said it before on this show today, is I'm very leery taking rookie wide receivers. But with him, for the situation you just described, I'd be fine with it.
Yeah.
He has. I guarantee by now the chemistry that him and Burrow had in LSU is back. It is back, or it's even further along, because now they're professionals. Now they can do this all day, every day. They don't have to worry about class and all that other shit. Yeah. So, and
those weapons that he had at Burrow, talking about Burrow, the weapons that he had at LSU were so fucking good. Yeah. Well, they're better now. I get it that they've stepped up to the next level, and these defenses are obviously better. But you have old boy Jamar Chase that you were very familiar with. You have T. Higgins who had a great year last year.
Yep.
And kind of the forgotten guy. I almost forgot his name. Tyler Boyd.
Yeah.
Who's been nothing but consistent for them for probably the last 3-4 years now.
Yeah.
So
even before Burrow got there, and they were complete shit, which is why they took Burrow with the number 1 overall pick, because they were horrible.
Yep.
They were horrible. On 2Ks, I think we hit everybody, right? I think we hit everybody.
Yep.
All right, yeah. And ironically enough, we're just about at that hour mark. So we pretty much nailed that one. For those of you that are listening, we're waiting to hear the baseball talk. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. We'll have to just stay tuned. Stay tuned. We will talk baseball. I promise. But speaking of baseball 2Ks, before we get out of here, I did want to give a big shout out to the Michigan Little League team.
Yeah.
Winning the Little League World Series today. Congratulations, boys. Congratulations. Way to ball out.
That was a pretty fun Little League World Series to watch. I did catch myself watching.
Well, we got who was the kid from
South Dakota
that looked like Chris Sale.
Yeah, that kid was unreal. We'll be watching him pitch here soon.
Yeah.
I'd
be shocked if he hasn't already been getting offers from schools, even though
he looks just like Sale.
Oh God, yes.
Delivery, everything.
He hits bombs though. He hits bombs.
Well, something tells me that Sale was probably hitting some fucking bombs back at that age too.
Yeah. It's. I have a feeling there's not many DHs in Little League baseball.
No.
But before we get out of here, I did want to give those boys a shout out. But one thing that maybe this was lost in the wash, but was it because of what's going on why we didn't see any of the international teams? Was that why?
It was all, yeah.
That's what I thought. That's Justin texted me that, and because I kept waiting to see who was gonna because for those of you that don't know, usually the U.S. teams play. There's a representative from the U.S. and then there's the international teams, and then the winner of that pool play. Those two teams play for the Little League World Series championship. And obviously we didn't see any of the international folks. So, and again, I want to say this is the first time there's been, because it was Michigan and Ohio, so two teams from the Midwest playing for the championship. So very cool. All you dudes, you're probably going back to school tomorrow or Tuesday or Wednesday, whenever you get home. Keep your heads high, guys.
Yeah.
Keep your heads high. Walk into that school like you own it.
Yeah.
You were on TV.
And that's pretty awesome, too, to be two teams in the Midwest. Yeah. Because those are kids that can't really play year-round. Obviously, we have the winners here that baseball gets shut down for the most part. Yeah, you can still hit the batting cages and you can get inside and do some things. But these kids that are playing down in Florida, Texas, Oklahoma, anywhere in the South, California, you can play baseball year-round. You can be outside on a field year-round. There's never really an off-season for you. But you can't say that about the kids in the Midwest. So to see two teams, get to the finals, and even for the Ohio team, they're the team that beat South Dakota. Obviously, they didn't face that same pitcher. He was not able to pitch in that game. But still, they're the team that knocked them out. Because if I'm telling you right now, if Ohio doesn't win that game and South Dakota gets by him, and then Team Michigan faces the weird kid from South Dakota today, Michigan's probably not winning that, because I don't think anybody is going to beat that kid. That kid, he's the best Little League pitcher that I've seen in the Little League World Series ever, and that goes. I'm saying he's better than the 17-year-old and Danny Almonte that we watched back when I was really young.
But yeah, I have a feeling if you and I stepped in the box, he'd bring us up too.
Oh, for sure.
He'd bring us up
for sure.
But no.
10 years ago, I would have probably taken him.
When I was in my
I would have probably
prime.
went, but
yeah, I just dropped dick on a 12-year-old. Say, what's the fuck, man? But no, it was really cool to see, and cool to see too. Just it isn't very often that a team from Michigan makes it that far. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that I thought was super cool was with the coach talking with the kids from Ohio. No, it was Hawaii won the third place game. It was the team that was playing Hawaii that lost. The coach was like, all right, and getting back to what I mentioned, he's like, when you boys go back to school, he's like, I know a lot of you guys are, starting football and stuff like that. And he was making it a point to say, keep your chins up. No one even thought we'd get this far. Mm-hmm. So just live for the moment. Yes, we didn't get to where we want to, but it was kind of cool to see another sports coach kind of pushing, hey, make sure, mm-hmm. you guys are going to be starting football here pretty soon. You guys have fun, do all that. So kudos to that coach. Because I've been, even me growing up, I never just played one sport. Mm-hmm. I didn't specialize. I played as many sports as I could. And I think that's getting lost a lot these days. Yep. People are, you're only playing basketball, or you're only playing football, or you're only playing baseball. You can't intermingle. So, sure. In my eyes, it just makes you a better all-around athlete the more sports you play. But could be wrong. Everyone else has their own train of thought. But you yourself played a ton of sports growing up. So.
Yeah. Saying I'm a firm believer. I agree with you. I think it's very important to not just focus on, especially at a young age, not just focus on one thing. Play it all. Yeah. You only have a certain amount of time, and you're never going to be able to do that again. So that's one way that even raising my own kids, mm-hmm. I'm going to try to push everything on them, and get into situations that, I don't want everything to always be easy on them either. Get into situations that you're not comfortable in, or mm-hmm. that you're not the best in, and work to be the best, and because that's just. You're going to come across things in that every day in life, mm-hmm. too. So, and there's so many things that that sports teach you that prepare you for life, and not just in that moment. Yeah, in the moment, it's so much fun.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes you kind of lose what the most important thing in playing sports and being involved with a team.
Yes.
And because no matter what, when you are out of high school and when you get through college. Everything you do in life is you have to be able to work with a team. You have to be mm-hmm. able to, work yourself through uncomfortable situations, because you're going to go through a lot of them.
Yep.
And those are the things I love about sports, especially team sports.
Yeah, I could not agree more. Well, 2Ks, let's get to the wrap up here. Even though we kind of wrapped everything up, but is there anything else you want to tie a bow on, my friend?
Next week when we meet up, we'll be talking about college football.
Yes, we will. We're not next week. The week after.
Oh yeah, week after. Well, even better, college mm-hmm. football and NFL.
Yeah. So let's do it. Do it. Let's see. Let's keep tallies on your Wolverines, my Irish. Obviously, we'll give you another fantasy update, because we'll have some. We'll be, it'll be the late game on mm-hmm. Sunday when we're talking. So I have a whole full day. Mm-hmm. We'll have the Thursday game to talk about. We'll have at least the first, the 1 o'clocks and the 4 o'clocks to talk about. And we'll check in on our fantasy teams and let football begin. Let football begin.
Yes.
All right, well, 2K crew, I love each and every one of you. You guys have a great week. From the looks of it, it's going to be cooler this week.
Yes.
Which I'm sure you work outside, so I'm sure you are super stoked about that.
Yes.
And I'm fat, and I don't do well I sweat a lot. Let's just put it that way. So I'm super stoked that it is going to be cooler. And 2K crew will get you out on that. As always, Jim Rome, we're coming for you.